Have you ever heard of an island so terrifying that the United States government quietly erased it from official tourist maps? An island where every rescue mission ended with more disappearances and where not a single verified survivor has ever returned to explain what truly happened. What if I told you that somewhere off the eastern coast of America, hidden beneath thick ocean fog, lies a place fishermen refuse to sail near, even in broad daylight? For more than 200 years, strange distress calls have been reported from the waters surrounding this island. Sailors claimed they heard desperate voices begging for help, only to discover there was no one there. Coast Guard records describe abandoned boats drifting across the Atlantic with engines still running, meals still warm, and every passenger mysteriously gone without a trace. Some investigators blamed storms, others blamed pirates, but none of those explanations could answer one terrifying question. Why did every person who stepped onto the island disappear forever? Even stranger, satellite photographs taken decades apart show the island changing shape as if the land itself refuses to stay the same. Local historians insist the island should not even exist anymore, yet every few years another missing persons case somehow points back to the same forgotten place. Tonight, we uncover the chilling mystery behind America's most forbidden island. Every clue leads somewhere darker than the last, and the truth waiting at the end is far more horrifying than any ghost story. Stay with us until the very end, because once you learn what investigators believe is still waiting on that island today, you may never look at the ocean the same way again. The Atlantic Ocean has always guarded its secrets well. Stretching thousands of miles across America's eastern shoreline, its waters have witnessed wars, shipwrecks, hurricanes, and disappearances that remain unsolved even today. While famous places like the Bermuda Triangle capture worldwide attention, countless smaller mysteries remain buried beneath the waves, forgotten by history. Among them was a tiny island mentioned only in faded journals from the early 19th century. The island appeared under different names depending on who documented it. Some maps called it Black Tide Island. Others referred to it as Hollow Cay. A few government navigation charts simply marked the location with an empty circle, as if cartographers themselves couldn't decide whether anything actually existed there. Modern satellite databases rarely showed it. Commercial navigation systems ignored it completely. But among old fishermen living along the coast of Maine and Massachusetts, stories about the island had survived for generations. None of them would sail there, not because of dangerous rocks, not because of violent storms, but because of something they simply called the Watchers. Nobody could explain exactly what the Watchers were. Some believed they were ghosts, others believed they were never human to begin with. Whenever young fishermen asked their grandfathers why they avoided those waters, the old men always answered with the same warning. If the fog arrives before sunset, turn your boat around immediately. If you hear someone calling your name from the island, don't answer. Most people laughed at those stories until people actually started disappearing. The first well-documented incident occurred in the autumn of 1979. A group of 4 experienced marine biologists from Boston received permission to study unusual plant life growing on several isolated Atlantic islands. Their expedition was funded by a respected university, and everything about the trip followed strict scientific procedures. Captain Robert Ellis had spent nearly 30 years navigating those waters. He wasn't superstitious. He trusted maps, weather reports, and experience.
When one elderly fisherman warned him not to anchor near Black Tide Island, Robert smiled politely. "There are no haunted islands, there are only bad decisions." Those would become the last recorded words anyone heard him say. 3 days later, the research vessel was discovered floating nearly 20 miles away. The engine still worked, fuel tanks remained half full, food sat untouched on the dining table. Scientific equipment continued recording environmental data, but every member of the expedition had vanished. No signs of violence, no blood, no struggle, no emergency signal. Only one strange detail confused investigators. Every clock aboard the vessel had stopped at exactly 3:17 p.m., not 1 minute earlier, not 1 minute later. Authorities suspected piracy at first, but pirates don't steal people while leaving expensive equipment behind. They don't carefully fold clothing in cabins, and they certainly don't leave untouched wallets filled with cash. Months passed. The investigation quietly faded from national headlines. Official reports concluded that unknown circumstances had caused the crew to disappear at sea. Case closed. Except it wasn't, because 11 years later, it happened again. This time, it wasn't scientists, it was 6 documentary filmmakers searching for forgotten locations across New England. Their goal was simple: capture abandoned historical sites, interview local residents, and create a television special about America's unexplained legends. Producer Emily Carter became fascinated after hearing rumors of Black Tide Island from elderly residents in a small fishing town near Bar Harbor, Maine. Nobody agreed to guide them there. Boat rental companies refused. Local captains suddenly became unavailable. One man even crossed himself before whispering, "Some places aren't meant to remember us." Eventually, Emily hired an outsider who had recently moved to the coast and knew nothing about the island's reputation. His name was Daniel Brooks. Unlike lifelong fishermen, Daniel believed every story had a logical explanation. Ghost stories sold books, fear created legends, reality was usually much simpler. At least, that's what he believed before the fog arrived. The journey began under perfectly clear skies. Blue water stretched endlessly towards the horizon. Seagulls followed the boat. Visibility remained excellent. For nearly 4 hours, nothing unusual happened. Then, without warning, every bird disappeared. Not gradually, instantly. Their cries stopped. The wind died. Even the ocean became unnaturally still. Daniel later managed to transmit one final radio message before communication ended forever. His voice sounded calm at first, then increasingly confused. "We've reached the island. It's bigger than expected." Pause. "There are buildings here." Silence. "We're hearing static. They're calling our names." Heavy breathing. "No, that's impossible." The transmission suddenly ended. Rescue teams arrived less than 18 hours later. They found Daniel's boat tied securely to an old wooden dock. The engines had been switched off normally. Camera equipment remained inside. Several memory tapes were missing. Every person aboard had disappeared. Only one video camera still contained footage. Most of the recording showed ordinary ocean scenery. Then, the image suddenly became distorted. The camera pointed towards thick white fog covering the island's interior. A distant figure appeared between the trees. Then another. Then dozens, standing perfectly still, watching. None of them moved. None of them approached the camera. Yet investigators noticed something terrifying during frame-by-frame analysis. The figures weren't facing the camera when filming began. Somehow, without appearing to move, They had turned closer between each individual frame, as if motion itself had been erased. Experts called it video corruption, digital malfunction, optical illusion, but none could explain why the cameraman suddenly dropped the equipment while screaming one sentence repeatedly: "They don't have faces." The recording ended there. No bodies were ever found, and Black Tide Island once again vanished into silence.
The disappearance of Emily Carter's documentary team should have ended the story forever. Instead, it reopened a mystery that had been sleeping beneath the Atlantic Ocean for more than 2 centuries. For nearly 8 years, no one officially attempted to reach Black Tide Island again. Newspapers stopped mentioning it. Television networks moved on to newer stories. Government files were quietly archived, stamped with phrases like "insufficient evidence" and "case unresolved." But mysteries have a strange way of attracting the very people who refuse to leave unanswered questions behind. In the spring of 1998, investigative journalist Michael Grayson stumbled across the forgotten Coast Guard reports while researching unexplained disappearances along the East Coast. At first, he assumed the files had been exaggerated by local folklore, yet the deeper he looked, the stranger everything became. The missing scientists, the vanished filmmakers, fishing boats discovered empty, old shipping logs, weather reports that contradicted eyewitness accounts. Every document seemed disconnected until one detail appeared again and again. 3:17 p.m. Every abandoned boat, every broken wristwatch, every damaged navigation system, everything had stopped at exactly the same time. Michael became obsessed. He traveled from Boston to Maine, interviewing retired sailors, Coast Guard officers, lighthouse keepers, and elderly residents who had spent their entire lives near those waters. Most refused to speak. Some simply closed their doors. Others whispered the same warning before ending the conversation: "If you're writing about that island, don't visit it." The oldest fisherman Michael found was 93-year-old Thomas Harlan, who lived alone in a weathered cottage overlooking the Atlantic. Thomas had spent nearly 70 years at sea. His hands trembled with age. His eyesight had nearly faded. But the moment Michael mentioned Black Tide Island, the old man's expression changed completely. "You've already waited too long," Thomas whispered. "What do you mean?" "They know you're asking questions." Michael laughed politely. "Who's they?" Thomas didn't answer immediately. Instead, he reached beneath an old wooden table and carefully removed a faded leather journal. The pages were brittle, covered with handwritten notes dating back to 1841. "This belonged to my great-grandfather," Thomas said quietly. "He was one of the only men who came back alive." Michael froze. Every official report claimed nobody had ever returned. Thomas slowly nodded. That's what the government wants people to believe. His great-grandfather had been only 16 years old when his father's fishing boat drifted into the strange fog surrounding Black Tide Island. The crew believed they had become lost during an unexpected storm. Instead, they sailed into complete silence. No wind, no birds, no waves. Even the ocean looked wrong. The water no longer reflected sunlight. It reflected nothing. When they reached the shore, the island looked abandoned. Small wooden houses lined a narrow dirt road. A church stood on a nearby hill. Smoke rose from chimneys. Fresh footprints covered the sand, yet no people appeared anywhere. The captain ordered everyone to remain together. Within 15 minutes, the youngest sailor disappeared. No scream,
No footprints, no struggle. He simply wasn't standing with the group anymore. At first, they believed he had wandered away. They searched every nearby building. Every room contained signs of recent life. Dinner tables remained set. Beds looked freshly made. Fireplaces still burned. Yet every house was completely empty. Night arrived faster than expected. The fog thickened until lantern light barely reached a few feet ahead. Then, someone knocked on the church door. 3 slow knocks. The sailors rushed outside. Nobody stood there, only more fog. As they turned to leave, another knock echoed behind them, this time from inside the church. The captain forced the heavy wooden door open. Darkness, rotting pews, broken stained glass, dust everywhere, clearly abandoned for decades. Then, one sailor pointed toward the altar. A woman stood there. Her white dress looked impossibly clean. Her long black hair covered her face. She didn't move, she didn't breathe, she simply stood there. The captain cautiously stepped forward. "Ma'am." No answer. "Are you hurt?" Still nothing. He reached out to touch her shoulder. The woman slowly raised one hand, not toward him, toward the church entrance, as if silently warning everyone to leave. Before anyone understood why, the church bell rang. Once, twice, 3 times. The woman vanished, not by running, not by hiding. She simply wasn't there anymore. Panic spread instantly. Several sailors ran outside. Others searched behind the altar. Nothing. Then they heard footsteps, hundreds of footsteps, coming from every direction at once. The fog outside began filling with silhouettes, dozens, then hundreds, standing between the trees, watching. Nobody spoke, nobody approached. The captain ordered everyone back towards the beach. Halfway there, another sailor disappeared, then another. The remaining crew started running. Thomas's great-grandfather later wrote only one sentence about what happened next. "Never look behind you when they begin walking." Michael looked up from the journal. "What does that mean?" Thomas's voice shook. He never explained. The journal continued. The survivors reached their fishing boat just before sunrise. Only 3 men remained alive. The captain started the engine. As the boat pulled away, the island slowly vanished beneath thick fog. When they reached the mainland, only one man still remembered the island clearly. Everyone else's memories faded within days, except for nightmares. Thomas closed the journal carefully. "My great-grandfather spent the rest of his life waking up every night at exactly 3:17. Michael asked the obvious question, "What happened to the other survivors?" Thomas stared silently towards the ocean. "They disappeared." "Years later?" Thomas nodded. "Always on foggy afternoons." A cold breeze swept across the porch. For several seconds, neither man spoke. Finally, Michael asked the question that had haunted every investigation. "What are the Watchers?" Thomas looked directly into his eyes. "I don't think they're ghosts." "What do you mean?" "I think they're waiting." "For what?" Thomas swallowed slowly. "For replacements." Michael laughed nervously. "That's impossible." The old fisherman didn't smile. "My grandfather used to tell me something. He said nobody leaves Black Tide Island." Michael frowned. "But your great-grandfather escaped." Thomas slowly shook his head. "No, he only believed he escaped." That sentence stayed with Michael long after the interview ended. Driving back towards his hotel, he replayed the conversation repeatedly inside his head. Nobody leaves, only believes they did. It sounded ridiculous, until strange things started happening. That very night, Michael woke suddenly at exactly 3:17 a.m. His hotel television turned on by itself. The screen displayed only white static. Somewhere beneath the crackling noise, a woman's voice whispered, "Come back." He rushed to turn the television off. The moment the screen went black, someone knocked 3 times on his hotel door. Slow, evenly spaced. Michael looked through the peephole. The hallway was empty. When he cautiously opened the door, no one stood outside. Only a wet trail of seawater stretched down the hallway carpet, leading towards the emergency exit.
Michael Grayson tried to convince himself that everything happening around him had a logical explanation. The television, the knocking, the trail of seawater. Lack of sleep could make people imagine impossible things. His editor had warned him that spending weeks investigating old disappearances might begin affecting his judgment. But the next morning, something happened that destroyed every logical explanation. When Michael developed the photographs he had taken inside Thomas Harlan's cottage, every picture looked perfectly normal, except one. The final image showed Thomas sitting in his rocking chair, staring toward the ocean. Behind him, standing just outside the window, was a tall, human-shaped figure. Its body was unnaturally thin. Its skin looked pale gray, and where its face should have been, there was only darkness. Michael immediately drove back to Thomas's cottage. Police cars already surrounded the property. An ambulance waited outside. Thomas Harlan had disappeared sometime during the night. The front door remained locked from the inside. His breakfast still sat warm on the kitchen table. His walking cane rested beside his chair. Nothing had been stolen. Nothing appeared disturbed. Only one thing was missing: the old leather journal. The police believed someone had broken in through a rear window. Michael knew better, because there were no footprints, only wet footprints leading from Thomas's chair toward the ocean, and they didn't look human. 3 weeks later, Michael made the decision every investigator before him had sworn never to make. He would visit Black Tide Island himself, not alone. He carefully assembled a small team of specialists who believed in evidence, not ghost stories. Former Coast Guard navigator Ethan Cole, marine archaeologist Dr. Sarah Mitchell, wildlife photographer Noah Pierce, electronics engineer Lisa Brooks, and James Walker. Michael never told them everything Thomas had said. He simply explained they were documenting an abandoned island connected to several historical disappearances. They chartered a heavily equipped research vessel from Portland, Maine. Unlike previous expeditions, they carried satellite communication systems, emergency beacons, GPS trackers, body cameras, backup batteries, drones, thermal cameras, and enough supplies for 1 week. "If this island exists," Ethan said confidently, "we'll map every inch of it." Nobody argued. The voyage began under bright summer skies. The Atlantic looked unusually calm. For nearly 6 hours, everything remained normal. GPS systems worked perfectly. Satellite communication maintained signal. The drone footage transmitted crystal clear video. Then, at exactly 3:17 p.m., every electronic device failed simultaneously. The GPS screens turned black. Satellite communication disappeared. Drone footage froze. Digital watches stopped.
Even the ship's compass began spinning endlessly. A thick wall of white fog appeared from nowhere. Within seconds, the horizon vanished. James checked the radar. Nothing. The island wasn't visible. Yet, something appeared directly ahead. A lighthouse, massive, ancient, weathered by centuries of storms. "No lighthouse is marked here," Sarah whispered. "It shouldn't exist." As the fog slowly drifted aside, Black Tide Island finally revealed itself. Silence. No birds, no insects, no waves crashing against the shore. It was as though every sound had been erased. Even the wind had disappeared. The island looked frozen in time. Old Victorian houses stood untouched. Wooden fences remained perfectly upright despite decades of saltwater storms. A church overlooked the cliffs. Behind it, a forest darker than anything any of them had ever seen. Michael noticed something strange immediately. There are no animals, no squirrels, no gulls, no insects, nothing, only silence. They stepped ashore. The sand felt strangely warm beneath their boots. Every member activated their body cameras. Michael spoke into his recorder. "June 18th, 1998. We have officially landed on Black Tide Island." His own voice sounded distant, almost echoing, even though no cliffs surrounded them. Sarah examined nearby footprints. "They're fresh." Everyone looked around. Fresh footprints covered the beach, hundreds of them. Bare feet, large, small, adult, child. Every footprint led away from the shoreline. None returned. Noah quietly lifted his camera. "Guys," everyone turned. Standing nearly 50 yards away, between two weathered houses, was a little girl, perhaps 8 years old. She wore an old-fashioned blue dress, barefoot, motionless. "Hello?" Michael smiled gently. No answer. "Are your parents here?" Still nothing. She slowly raised one finger, pointing toward the forest. Then, without making a sound, she walked behind a building. The team rushed after her. Nobody was there, only empty streets. Lisa frowned. Impossible. There wasn't enough time. As they explored deeper, the island became even stranger. Every house contained furniture, books, family photographs, children's toys, fresh drinking water inside glass pitchers, but thick dust covered everything, as though the houses had been abandoned yesterday and 100 years ago, at exactly the same time. Michael picked up an old newspaper. The headline read, "October 14th, 1896. Another newspaper inside the same house displayed the date August 3rd, 1957. A third, May 22nd, 1984. Different decades, different printing styles, all lying on the same table. Sarah whispered, "That isn't possible." They reached the church just before sunset. The massive wooden doors stood open. Inside, hundreds of candles burned, perfectly, without melting, without smoke, without anyone tending them. At the center of the church stood an enormous stone statue. Its face had been deliberately destroyed. Ancient symbols covered its surface. Lisa translated one faded Latin inscription, "Those who are remembered may leave." Below it, another sentence had been carved much later, "Those who are forgotten remain forever." Michael stared silently. "What does that mean?" Nobody answered. Then the church bell rang, once, twice, 3 times. Every candle went out. Complete darkness. Someone breathed directly behind Michael. He spun around. Nobody. Then Noah screamed. His lantern pointed toward the church entrance. More than 50 figures stood outside, perfectly still, watching. Each one looked human. Each wore different clothing from different time periods. Some looked like Civil War soldiers. Others wore 1920s suits. Some wore modern hiking jackets. One wore a Coast Guard uniform. Another still carried a video camera. Emily Carter's camera, the missing filmmaker. Michael slowly realized the horrifying truth. These weren't ghosts. These were the missing people. Every person who had ever disappeared on Black Tide Island was still here, standing silently beneath the fog, watching. Then, every single one of them slowly tilted their heads at exactly the same angle, and together they smiled, except none of them had eyes.